My stepfather called me a failure for 4 years. Yesterday, I became his landlord, and he had no idea it was coming. I was sitting in my car, outside the estate agent's office, holding the keys to his house, trying to decide one thing. Should I tell my mom first? Or let him find out through a legal notice? I called my mom. She went completely silent. Then she just said, "Oh, Sophie." And I told him I'd figure it out. My mom married Raymond when I was 16. At first, he was perfect. Charming, attentive, always showing up with flowers, the kind of man who made you feel like everything was under control. That lasted about 4 months. After that, he didn't become aggressive. He became dismissive. Not loud, not rude, just the kind of person who could make anything you did feel small. I told him I wanted to study graphic design. He smiled and said, "Right, and what does that pay?" I had already researched it. I answered properly. He nodded like he didn't believe a word I said. My mom stayed quiet. That became a pattern. Then I went to university. He told people I was doing an art course. I got my first job. He said I was finding my feet. I got promoted. He told me not to get too comfortable. Every single time I achieved something, he reframed it as a future failure. It wasn't obvious. That's what made it worse. The breaking point came on one Christmas. It changed everything. I was 25, and I had just been told I might become a creative director. I didn't even announce it properly. My mom asked about work, and I mentioned it. Raymond didn't even pause. He just smiled and said, "They must be desperate." My mom gave that small, uncomfortable laugh, the one that says, "Please don't turn this into something." And in that moment, something in me just clicked. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. I stopped trying to prove anything to him, and I started thinking differently. Around that time, I started noticing changes. My mom began saying things like, "Raymond is handling the finances. Raymond moved the savings. Raymond added himself to the account." That last one didn't sit right with me. So I looked into it. The house we lived in? It was fully in my mom's name. Paid off years ago. Completely hers. But somehow, Raymond had positioned himself like he was in control. Not illegally, just slowly, over time. And that's when I realized something important. This wasn't just about me anymore. And then I started planning. I asked a property solicitor one simple question. If my mom wanted to sell the house, could she sell it to me? The answer was yes. Completely legal. Completely normal. So I went to my mom, sit her down, and said, "I want to buy the house from you." She looked at me and said, "You can't afford it." I said, "Give me 18 months. She thought about it, and then she said yes. Those 18 months were not exciting. No drama, no big moments, just discipline. Saving everything I could, cutting expenses, working harder than I ever had before. Literally, I lived like a college student, saving every penny I could, while Raymond kept doing what he always did, talking, judging, dismissing, and I let him because I wasn't trying to win arguments anymore. I was working towards something he couldn't interrupt. 18 months later, I signed the papers. That Thursday morning, I officially became the owner of the house. At 9 a.m., it was mine. At 2 p.m., Raymond received a legal letter informing him that the landlord had changed. To me, he showed up at the house furious. Said it was betrayal. Said it was disrespectful. Called me ungrateful. My mom listened to all of it, and for the first time in 4 years, she didn't smooth it over. She didn't defend him. She just said, "She's my daughter." And she proved you wrong. He didn't have anything to say after that. He left. A few months later, they separated. Not just because of the house, but because that moment made everything clear. My mom rebuilt her independence, her finances, her confidence. She started making decisions for herself again. Simple things like repainting the living room a color she actually liked. She sent me a photo of it one day and asked, "What do you think?" I said, "I think it finally feels like your house." Raymond spent 4 years telling people I would fail. What he didn't understand is that silence doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes, it just means someone is busy building something you can't see yet. And by the time you do see it, it's already too late.